How am I in Spanish for?
Second timeout. Cougar foul, number 10, Cindy Freeman, her third, team sixth.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for joining us on this perfect Friday night football evening. For WBTV Sports, I'm Maggie Michael. I'll be your play-by-play. And for commentator Colin Marith. In a last-second decision, the Western Boone Stars host the Hammond Central Wolves. So, Colin, the Wolves, they had a long bus ride. How can they shake that off and beat the Stars tonight?
Well, tonight, honestly, I think one of the greatest strengths of the Wolves will be their passing game. They have had a pretty pass-heavy season so far. And I think just trying to get past Western Boone's D-line, as they do have a very strong defensive line, is going to be another major strength of theirs. Is that defensive line for Webo started off pretty weak and pretty loose, but it has slowly become greater and stronger. And now basically any rush made by the other team can't really get past too well. So if they're going to be rushing tonight, that's going to be tough for them. They'll just have to try and get around the D-line, but a passing game is going to be their greatest strength against Webo.
The Stars, as you said, they're on a bit of a winning streak, so what's their strategy going in tonight to keep that alive?
So I think tonight for the Stars, they really don't know what to expect. I talked to quarterback Elliot Young, and he said the team has no idea what to expect. Practice has been really weird for them this week because they don't really have anything specific to work on. But he said, it'll be a little bit sloppy here and there, but both teams are going to get used to it. But he hopes that Western Boone is going to be able to get back and focus on the basics, of football and work on their base offense and running and everything that they've known and stick to it. And then that is how they're going to win tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you. We'll take a break as the national anthem plays in the stadium, and we'll be right back. And we're back from our break. So, Colin, as you were talking about the Stars, they really need to stick with their guns tonight and do what they're used to win. They don't need to get overconfident. And both teams, they really come in with not as much preparation on each other's teams because this was such a last-second decision for both teams. So I think that'll put some nerves up in there. But if each team just does what they need to do and does their game, I think it'll go well for each team.
Yeah, and as I was saying earlier, neither team knows what to expect at all, really. So it's going to be tough for them to adapt to one another and what playing style they might have. But I feel like once they do get that adaptation in, they'll adapt really well and know what to expect from the other team. And both teams have a lot of fire in their eyes, as they were both, or Western Boone in particular, was just waiting and waiting to see if they would even have their homecoming game. And the Hammond Central Wolves, with this being their first season, obviously they have a lot of fire going up against a 3A school with them being a 5A school. Speaking of them being a brand new school, this is their very first season of football. The school is brand new. It opened in July, late July of this year, and it's a merger from Clark, Gavitt, and Hammond high schools in the city of Hammond, and they all merged into this new facility. And the Wolves' coach, Adam Hudak, is very excited for the seasons to come, and he had previously coached at Wheeler and Lake Station. He coached at Wheeler for 2 years. His seasons there weren't too successful, but when he went to Lake Station, I believe his record ended up being 8-3, and that's pretty good, for a newer high school coach. So he talked about how he's very excited for this season. He's got a whole new team, whole new staff, new facilities, and a lot of brand new things at his disposal to use.
Yeah, I think that is a strategy that the Wolves have for them, is that they are a first-team school. They're a consolidation, so they're a first-team program. And so all these different players come from all these different teams, and it allows the coaches to pick out what they need from each team, and it allows other schools to not really know what they're going to do, because, of course, you can't go back on YouTube and look at their games from last year because they didn't have games last year. So it really throws, especially since it is a last-second game. I mean, the decision came out yesterday. It really throws Western Boone and other teams for a loop because they have no time to prepare. So they go into this game not knowing what to do, not knowing what to adjust. Like some teams, they're going to be a rush-heavy team, so you stop the rush up the middle. I mean, obviously the stats show a little bit more of Hammond's passing ability, so they have to be prepared for that. But you never know with a school like this.
Their current record is 1-4 for this season, and Western Boone couldn't really scout them at all because it was such a last-second game. I did talk to a couple of the football players here at Western Boone, and they talked about how they were able to watch a couple hours of footage for some of these games and get at least an idea of what to expect from the Wolves tonight. And talking about the Wolves, they have some pretty impressive stats here on the season, specifically number 6 for them, wide receiver Jordan Woods, the 6'3", 181-pound junior, currently has 28 receptions on the season. Forget this, 478 yards. Their total passing yards for the season are 869. So he holds over half of the passing yards for this team, which is just unbelievable. He has 5 touchdowns on the season, and his longest run was 50 yards at South Bend West, I believe.
Yeah, and don't let it go unnoticed that the tight end Daniel Reeves, he has 157 yards, and Demetrius Jones has 135 yards. That is more yards than some of the leading receivers that we've seen on other teams have, and those are their second and third receivers. So, they have some depth there in the receiving. So, obviously, they're going to be looking for Jordan Woods a lot of the time, but don't let the talent go unnoticed that they have behind with the tight end Daniel Reeves and the wide receiver Demetrius Jones.
Yeah, exactly. And their quarterback, number 1, Anthony Huber, the 5'9" senior, my apologies there, he is their top runner as well for the season. He has 136 rushing yards on top of his 702 passing yards. And comparing that to Elliott Young, who has 626 passing yards, of course, he doesn't pass as much, but that is a very impressive statistic there with, of course, almost every single pass being done this year by him. Pretty impressive quarterback here. 6 touchdowns from his passes. He has a 47% completion rate. Of course, not half there, but still, when he can get that ball up in the air and get out to his receivers, he obviously has very great success with it.
Yeah, and I want to point something out. As you said, he only has a 47% completion rating. But since Hammond, we're expecting them to pass a little more. When you pass more, obviously you're going to have less of a completion rating. It's the same as why he has a couple more interceptions than Elliott Young does, because Elliott Young doesn't see as many passes as what we can assume Anthony Huber does. And so now the teams, they're both taking the field. The clock is running down for the pregame, and then we'll get the captains out and decide which team's going to receive the kick.
I am very excited to see where this game goes tonight. It's totally unexpected. Normally when I'm running stats for a game, I'll sit here and, I'll review footage sometimes, and I'll be like, yeah, this team has a pretty good chance of winning, or this team does, or, this will be a close game. With this game, I have no idea whatsoever.
And I just want to point out something interesting. If you look across the screen, that you can see that the Wolves, they actually have a smaller team for being the bigger school. The Western Boone, they just have such a big football program, even though they are technically a 2A school, even though they've moved up to 3A due to points. Their size puts them in 2A. That's a 5A school, and they have probably a half, maybe a third of many players as Western Boone does. So that really just shows how big of a program it is.
That is funny, too. With the fact that Hammond Central is a merger of 3 schools, you would expect a lot of players out there.
Yeah, and there's not very many. I was expecting a lot more, especially coming from a 5A school. That's a huge size school. So it's interesting to see.
But we do see a lot of talent out there with Hammond Central's players. A lot of their players out there have been very successful so far this season. Even if the games haven't gone as they've wanted to, they've been getting some really good plays in personally. It all just comes down to how the other team scores and how they're scoring. But, looking at their history, of course, 1-4 is not that great of a record at the beginning of the season. Or really, I should say the middle of the season. It still feels like the beginning to me.
It does. But you have to remember, they're a starting up program. So that 1-4, honestly, for coming their first year, it sounds bad, but if you think about it, it's not. They have a whole new program. They have a whole new facility. This is all new territory for them. So you have to start somewhere and build up from there, especially coming into a 5A. 5A is so difficult in Indiana football. You have New Pal. You have all these huge schools that are in 5A. So I'm sure the competition hasn't been super easy for them.
Exactly. That was exactly what I was leading into, actually. With them being a brand new school, that they do have really impressive plays on the season, a lot of really great yards, comparing well with a lot of other teams, throughout basically any class. And with them being a starting 5A school, of course, it's going to be pretty tough for them. But I do expect to see a pretty strong game from them tonight.
Yeah, and you have to look at the teams they're playing, too. They're playing teams like Pioneer, Valparaiso. So these are huge schools that are notoriously good. So even though they might have a losing record, they would have a better record than some of the schools that play smaller schools, are not as good, and well-recognized football programs. Josiah Smith, he's going to kick the ball away for the Stars, and the Wolves are going to get the ball on offense first. Back to grab the ball for the Wolves was number 3, Deshaun Woods. It went into the end zone, so that will set them up with pretty good field position to start off the game. And we'll see Anthony Huber come out and lead the Wolves in their first offensive drive of the night.
That was a great kick there from Josiah Smith, who has 9 punts this season for 278 yards. One of the best punters here at Western Boone, without a doubt. And I'm going to bring this up at every game. He was the winner of the state game pretty much, with that final kick there at the end, that absolute nail-biter. I'm going to bring that up at every game because that still impresses me.
We actually see a different quarterback in this time. It's going to be a handoff to another player. The quarterback in is actually number 16, Keyshawn Harvey. And the ball was handed off to Deshaun Woods.
That is interesting there. I was absolutely expecting Anthony Huber tonight. They might just put him in later, try and get a loose start here, maybe to catch the Stars off guard here, or just, make sure Anthony gets a little bit of a break there.
I'm not sure if I even see his number looking over there, so that's an interesting point, but we'll see number 16, Keyshawn Harvey in, with the running back standing next to him. Heavy set formation, 1 out wide, looking to pass, gets a pass off that's completed to Demetrius Jones, and he's still on his feet, and he'll get close to the first down marker. But there is a flag on the play. The running back in is Harrington.
It was a very, very interesting play there, a good pass there, and a good reception, which we're going to see a lot of tonight from the Wolves. Of course, there was a flag on the play, not sure why.
The flag was against the Wolves, so that'll back up the great play from Deshaun Woods. Jordan Woods. So they're backing up the yards that they have to take for the penalty. That brings it to 2nd down and 13.
Pretty far pushback there for the Wolves. interested to see what they might have next here.
Now we'll see spread formation. 16. Quarterback takes it. It goes through the hand, and it's going to be intercepted. That's Rowan Durbin, number 13 for the Stars, who's going to intercept the ball off of another Wolves player.
Amazing start for Western Boone. Right there, it just slipped right through the hands of the receiver and straight into the hands of Western Boone. Very impressive play there, indeed. I am expecting to see a decent amount of interceptions tonight from Western Boone, especially from Jake Johnson, as he has the only 2 interceptions for the past 2 games. Those were him. So.
Now we see heavy set formation from the Stars. Weekly in the backfield, Baird on the move. That's going to draw a jump from the Wolves, and that'll put 5 yards for the Stars, putting them even closer to the end zone. Great field position to start their first offensive drive, and you can almost expect a score here, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown.
That's interesting there that they already have a offsides flag against them, because we saw plenty of that last week at North Montgomery, and that was a very young team that Western Boone was playing against. So with the Wolves being a newer team, I wonder if that'll be an issue tonight for them as well.
Another heavy set formation. Baird on the move. Yet again, a handoff to Trevor Weekly, and he's going to get into the end zone for the first touchdown of the night early on in the game. 11:02 reads on the clock. And that was Trevor Weekly for the Stars.
Barely a minute in this first quarter, and Western Boone has a touchdown. An interception and a touchdown, I should say.
Yeah, it's a great start for the Stars tonight. You know, it's homecoming. They got to show up and show out for the fans.
And I'm sure they're all very psyched out about this being a 5A school that they're up against. So
now Josiah Smith to take the kick. Rowan Durbin, the holder. And the kick is up, and it's going to be good for the Stars. That'll bring their lead to 7-0 early on in the first quarter. Anything you want to add about that play?
Overall, that play was very impressive. Something we see a lot of from the Stars, just their shorter plays there. Of course, getting up in the end zone, they want to get those shorter plays, just get closer and closer to the end zone and make sure that they do get that touchdown. They're really not a team to overuse their downs, honestly. There have only been a handful of fourth downs that I've seen at games that haven't been like totally lopsided against the Stars. Like at North Montgomery, I barely saw any fourth downs from Western Boone, maybe 1 or 2 during that entire game. So I do expect to see that once again here tonight from Western Boone if things keep going in their favor as it did just now.
Yep. Well, now we'll get another chance for the Wolves to come back on offense with the ball being kicked away. This time still again by Josiah Smith. Back for the Wolves. The farthest back is Harrington, joined by Deshaun Woods and another player. I cannot see the number. I believe it's 82. Looks to be 82, McCray. Tyrese McCray. Now Josiah Smith, he'll be the one to kick. As I said, a good kick from him, going straight into the hands of Deshaun Woods. Heading towards the middle, and he'll be drugged down way back into their own territory. That will be actually fielded at probably around the 15-yard line.
Pretty tough play there from Western Boone, absolutely swooping him up in one player's arms. I believe that was number 15 for the Stars, Jake Johnson. Basically just bear hugging the guy and swing him around until the rest of the Western Boone players could jump in there and tackle him.
I mean, I guess it's an effective way to bring somebody down or at least slow him down for as long as you can.
It certainly worked out for Jake there.
Now we'll see heavy set formation. Jordan Jones behind the quarterback, Harvey. Man on the move. And Harvey's actually going to take the snap. It's going to be a switch play. And it'll end with a run up the middle from Demetrius Jones.
That was a fake handoff there to number 2, Akeem Harrington. Very interesting. I thought he had the ball, But then I saw all the action. You're right in the middle there.
Yeah, it was a bit of a wildcat, except instead of a running back getting the ball, it was a wide receiver getting the ball.
Yeah, it was really interesting there. I just kept my eyes on Harrington, and I just thought, oh, look at that. Everything's going on right there.
I was kind of following the ball. I was like, okay, they're moving. Yeah, but it ended up being Demetrius Jones to pick up the yards for the Wolves. Harvey back in shotgun. Harrington moves to the other side. Harvey takes it. He's going to pass to Jordan Woods, who's in heavy coverage, and it was almost intercepted by Jake Johnson.
I do expect to see at least one interception from Jake Johnson tonight, if any more happen tonight, just because he's been getting all the interceptions for the Stars in these